Hey everyone, today I'm going to be taking these glass jars and turning them into this. A few months ago, me and the wife, we went to our local dollar store here in Germany, and you can basically get anything there. From kitchen supplies, arts and crafts, dog supplies, cat supplies, decorational items, you basically name it. I was walking through one of the aisles and I saw these 3 jars, and I immediately knew what I wanted to do with them, so I bought them and brought them home. As you guys saw, I want to create 3 terrariums in these with some living moss and a few other little critters that I'm going to be adding in the end of the video once they are actually done. I'm going to be starting off with a smaller one first, since in the 2 larger ones I still want to create, well, a back wall out of different materials and fill it up with moss. And in the smaller one, basically I just want to build a simple false bottom, a nice airy substrate, add some moss and some stones and some wood, and keep it quite simple in the smaller one. Now, before I actually start talking too much, let's actually dive into the creation of these 3 terrariums and start the process. Here's everything that I am going to be needing to create these mini terrariums. And for the false bottom, I'm going to be using Leica bolts and some mosquito mesh for the windows that I've just had lying around. You can also use lava rocks if you have those. Either one will work perfectly fine. Yet I had a whole entire bag of Leica clay bolts basically standing outside, so I'm going to be using those. For the substrate, I'm going to be using some dried out sphagnum moss and some dried out cocoa fiber with some potting soil and some activated carbon. Now, you don't need to use activated carbon. Again, I just had this lying around, and you can basically just go, if you do have a bag of charcoal lying around, just grab some charcoal, crush it up a little bit finer into granules, and basically use that. I'm going to mix this all together to create the substrate for the moss, and it's going to be a nice airy substrate to obviously get too compact or start fouling. For the hardscape of these, I still had quite a few pieces of dragonstone and spiderwood still lying around from the last creation of the half moon tank. If you guys want to go see the video on how I created this tank, there's a description up there if you guys want to check it out. And obviously I went to go collect some moss. To collect moss, I went up to my local lake, and there on the walk path there are quite a few pillars with wooden beams where there's a lot of moss growing on it. Now, I just started taking off the moss from these wooden beams and placing it into my little Tupperware container so that I can take it home later on and actually just dip clean it in a bowl of distilled water, preferably. Do not use chlorinated water from the tap. Moss will die from it. Distilled water, rainwater, definitely preferably use that. And basically just dip it into the water, take off all the pieces of debris and any small animals that you can basically find, and then place it into a Tupperware container with a substrate on the bottom, spray some distilled water over it, close the Tupperware to keep it nice and moist, and your moss should be, well, growing and quite happy in that. Now, I don't have enough moss yet to most probably fill up all 3 of these, well, mini jars. So I might need to go out to my local lake to go, well, gather a little bit more moss. But for the small one, it should definitely be enough already. I would say let's dive into this. Let's start the creation of the mini terrariums. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is actually hydrate the sphagnum moss and let it soak up with water again before I basically add it to the soil to get the soil mixture all ready to go. Now, for the rest of the soil, I just add the hydrated sphagnum moss together with some potting soil, some activated carbon or charcoal, it doesn't matter which one, and some cocoa fiber, and mix it all together to have a nice fluffy substrate. For the false bottom, I'm just using some Leica bolts and a mosquito mesh to separate the soil from the Leica bolts, and then basically just add the soil onto the false bottom, a few inches or centimeters of depth, so that you basically have quite a bit of soil for your roots to basically take hold in and scape it as you please. I'm obviously going to give it a little bit of a backwards lean for a little bit more depth, and then that should be good. Okay, so false bottom is done, soil is inside. As you guys can see, I gave it a little bit of a backward slant. That's just going to give it a little bit more depth and give me more space to actually work with. I would say now let's add some hardscape, a few stones and a few pieces of wood, and then we can add some moss and some plants. And then it should be done. Okay, so here we have all the plants and all the mosses that I'm going to be using for the terrariums. Now, for the mosses, I obviously just told you guys what species they are. In the back here, I actually have some Ficus pumila, a very, very nice little vining plant. So this is just going to give it a little bit more of a texture amongst the moss. Here I also have some Bucephalandra needle leaf, also just gives a little bit more different texture, and as well some Nubius batteri nana, and this plant here, which I absolutely love. It's Saligenella unicinata, and again, just very, very fine leafed little plant, which is going to give it a nice little bit of different textures amongst the mosses. A wide variety of different textures to add to the terrarium of different leaves and different plants. But I would say let's get to planting. But I would say let's start with the mosses and give the terrarium some greenery. Well, there we go. 1 out of 3 complete. Now, this took me way longer than I expected. I was going to obviously try and do the other 2 today as well, but unfortunately the light is slowly but surely dying on me. As you guys will see, I was working with a little desk lamp just to illuminate the terrarium a little bit better. Light, unfortunately, in my apartment is not the best. Now, if you guys did enjoy the video, please leave a like and a comment down below and subscribe. It would help the channel out quite a lot. Ring the notification bell to not miss out on future content and to not miss out on the other 2 terrariums that I'm going to escape most probably in the next few days. But yeah, I'm going to call it here. Enjoy the evening, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.